Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, as I told you guys when Charlie Kirk was murdered, I am not over here celebrating his murder. I am not cheering it on. I think that it was horrific. I think it should not have been done. But if what we're witnessing with Charlie Kirk is any indication of what's to come with Donald Trump when he dies, we can prepare for utter insanity. The far right MAGA cult is taking things to a level that is insane and obscene. You would think that Charlie Kirk was the second coming of Christ, the way these delusional nut jobs are acting. Before I get into these details, please do me a big favor, hit the subscribe button below this video. So here is the deal. Here's what's going on. Two Republican lawmakers, Augustus Pfluger, I think is how you pronounce it. He's a Texas representative, and then Abe Homage of Arizona. They introduced a bill to put Charlie Kirk on our U.S. currency. I am not joking. Homage called Kirk an American treasure, and he told Fox News, quote, "Since 1892, Congress has authorized commemorative coins to celebrate and honor historic American patriots. He tirelessly sacrificed his time, energy, and money to save this nation for future generations. Ultimately, at the hands of a radical leftist, he sacrificed his life. His life must be commemorated, and this coin will allow us to pass a reminder of his remarkable life on to generations to come." So, if this is passed, this bill would direct the Treasury to mint coins with Charlie Kirk's image on it. It would have his name on it. And then on one side, it would have the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Yeah. I'm going to share with you in a minute why this is obscene. If that wasn't bad enough, Republican lawmakers in Oklahoma introduced their own bill requiring a Charlie Kirk statue on every public college and university campus in the state. Check this out. I am not kidding. So this bill says that the statues must be located in a quote-unquote prominent area of the campus, and it should either be a statue of Charlie Kirk sitting at a table with an empty seat across from him, or it should be of Kirk and his wife holding their children. And this is the worst part. They want to impose a penalty. They want to fine the schools if they refuse to put these statues on their campus. The lawmakers also said they want students to be expelled if they vandalize the statues. But wait, there's more. The lunacy continues. The Oklahoma superintendent, Ryan Walters, guy who just got busted recently for having naked women on the screen behind him during I think it was a school board meeting or something. Anyway, yeah, that guy, that hypocrite. He said every public high school in his state must work with Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization, to create Charlie Kirk clubs on their campuses. And Walters said, if you don't do this, we are going to strip your school of its accreditation. Yeah, he went on Fox News, went on Fear News Network, and he told the journalist, quote, "We would go after their accreditation. We would go after their certificates. They would be in danger of not being a school district if they decided to reject a club that is here to promote civil engagement." This is the same nut job, this Waters guy, or Walters, whatever his name is. He wanted to spend millions of taxpayer dollars to purchase Trump's overpriced blasphemous Bibles. Now, luckily, Walters just announced his resignation. because, this guy is absolutely insane. So luckily, the people in his state are going to get some reprieve. He's going to be involved with some other organization that still has to do with education somehow, but he should not have a say in any child's education. The guy is a Looney Tune. And here's the thing. Here is why this pisses me off so much and why this is bothering me. Let me remind you of who Charlie Kirk was. This is who they're praising as an American treasure. This is the indoctrination that they want for all American children. Take a listen to this.
Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course, that's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the
you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
I don't want LaQuisha James.
They have
who
that
comes
like
up,
pilot voice,
and she's just like, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen, pray for me." Anytime you see something between a white person and a black person, you have been trained, you have been conditioned to believe that it's the white person that is terrorizing the black person. More than 600 white women a year are murdered by black men. The Karen slur is attacking white women who believe in being treated respectfully, who want to live in a nice society. Could you imagine if we did that? And we should not do this, by the way. Let me just be very clear. We should not do this. We should not be like, well, you're acting like a Trayvon. Could you imagine? Don't do that. That's bad. Could you imagine the stereotyping? That's the equivalent. Oh, you're a Shaniqua. Can't do that. You know, if that makes you cringe, that's exactly what they're doing with the name Karen.
Vile. Absolutely vile. So like I said, while I'm not going to celebrate Kirk's death, I don't believe, I've said this before, I don't believe in political violence. I don't believe in murdering people just because you disagree with something that they say or what they believe in. Okay? Now, actions, right? Like if you commit a murder yourself or you do something, harm someone physically, harm a child, let's say, I don't have any qualms with that, right? Harm an animal, like, what Kristi Noem did. I mean, would I cry over her death? Absolutely not. I might be celebrating that one. At the same time, although I disagree with political violence, I'm going to be real. And I'm going to say that Kirk was a bigoted piece of shit who was in no way, shape, or form an American treasure. He wasn't saving the nation from everything. He was, as much as Trump, he was dividing the nation. And I like how he says, oh, well, that's not who I am. Yeah, I worry about when I see a black pilot, I'm going to worry that they're not qualified because of DEI, but that's not who I am. But then you notice he brings up black women in particular and always has these racist names for them. Shaniqua, the most racist names. Like, why? Why? right? And oh, Karen is a slur against white women, and they just want their society, they just want the country to be nice and safe, and bullshit. You're telling me that the woman in the park who called the police on the black man who was bird watching because she didn't like that he was there in her park and lied about him, lied on camera and said that he was harming her, that she was afraid of him. You're freaking telling me that bitch, and yeah, I'm going to call her a bitch. You're telling me that she's just so innocent. She just wants her country to be a nice place. Bullshit. There is no equivalence. Okay. You don't have black people calling the police on white people for doing nothing. It is not the same. And even if they did, there is a massive difference. And this is proven over and over and over again in all kinds of stats that we can show that the white people, their interaction with police is night and day from what it is with people of color. People of color are at grave risk of being murdered by the police anytime there is a police officer involved in an interaction. That is not the same with white people. 100% not true. It is not the same. And check this out. This is what Kirk had to say after Nancy Pelosi's 82-year-old husband was almost bludgeoned to death with a hammer by a MAGA man, by the way. Take a listen to this.
Why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like $30,000 or $40,000. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions.
So yeah, they make a big deal about the left bailing people out who shouldn't be bailed out. He wanted someone to go and bail out a psycho who had just bashed in Pelosi's skull and almost killed him. That's a Christian? Really? That's a good and moral leader? That's someone you want your child to emulate? And check this one out. This is a Twitter post. If I can find it now. Shoot. I don't know what I did with it here. Let me bring it up for you guys. Here it is. All right, so this is a Twitter post that Kirk published essentially justifying the political assassination of Minnesota Democrat Melissa Hortman and her husband and their dog. Also, the attempted assassination of another Democratic lawmaker and his wife. You guys know about this. So for those on the podcast, Kirk reposted an ad for a No Kings protest in Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor, he was supposed to be the headline speaker that day after Hortman and the other lawmaker were gunned down by a Trump supporter, by the way. Obviously, Tim Walz backed out. He wasn't going to go speak, and everybody was concerned because they were like, okay, we got this MAGA man on the loose. He had flyers in the back of his car for the No Kings protest. We don't know if he's like working alone, if he was planning on showing up and he was going to come gun everybody down at the protest. So Tim Walz backs out of speaking. Kirk reposts this and he wrote, quote, Tim Walz has reportedly backed out. Total shocker that smearing a duly elected president who won an overwhelming electoral mandate as a fascist or king leads to violent political radicalization. So that was June 14th that he posted this. This is the morning after the assassinations and the attempted assassinations took place. So without any facts about the shooter, Kirk not only attempted to justify the killings, but then blamed the left. Blamed, Tim Walz and his rhetoric for radicalizing this guy who we now know for a fact the shooter, Lance Belter, was a Trump supporter. His roommate, his longtime friend, told news outlets he is a Trump supporter. He is a hardcore MAGA guy. So, sounds like Kirk's show should have been taken off the air, right? He was spreading misinformation. Isn't that what Trump's regime says? Isn't that what they're trying to shut down? Isn't that why Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air? So, spare me the hypocritical outrage over Jimmy Kimmel and his very mild and true comments. Can you imagine how MAGA heads would explode if Democrats did this, if they introduced legislation to put a left-wing activist or a left-wing podcaster on our U.S. currency? Imagine what they would do if, like, I don't know, who's a popular leftist, like, David Pakman or Cenk Uygur, right? Imagine how they would react if a left-wing school superintendent said, I am requiring that all schools in a blue state, in Colorado or California or anywhere in the United States, they must all have a Cenk Uygur club so that kids can learn about progressive values. They would lose what little they have left of their minds. They would lose their shit. And you know what this tells me? This tells me that, number one, we pay our public officials too much. It also tells me they have too much time on their hands, right? This is what our tax dollars are paying for. This is what you're doing with your time. You're drafting bills, you're drafting legislation to put the face of a bigot on our currency and to force schools to have his statues, to have his clubs. These people are not only are they insane, not only are they a cult and cult members, but they don't give a damn about average Americans. They obviously don't, because if they did, they would be drafting legislation to improve everybody's lives, not this bullshit. So, anyway, there you go, guys. The lunacy continues from MAGA. I'll let you know if I hear any more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.